Imagine being told that everything you know will be swept away, your home, your friends, your entire world. That was Noah's reality. In a time when the world was drowning in wickedness, God called one man to do the impossible: build an ark and save his family from a coming storm. Maybe you're facing your own storm right now, a season of uncertainty, isolation, or loss. But just like Noah, God has a plan to carry you through. Today we're diving into the story of a man who survived the end of the world and discovered that when everything falls apart, God's promises remain. Stay with us to uncover how Noah's obedience opened the door to a brand new beginning, and how your obedience can do the same. In Genesis 6 verses 5 to 8, we witness a world drowning in moral decay, a society so consumed by wickedness that it became an unrelenting wave of corruption. Sin was like an unquenchable fire, spreading through every corner of humanity. Thoughts, desires, and actions were steeped in evil, and violence ruled human interactions. The very fabric of creation was tainted, and God, grieved by the depravity that had overtaken mankind, lamented the very act of creating them. Yet, amidst this spiritual wasteland, one man stood apart. Noah, a man of unwavering integrity, walked faithfully with God. Genesis 6 verse 8 declares, "But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord." In a world spiraling into chaos, he became a shining light of righteousness, a living testament that even in the darkest of times, God's favor can rest upon those who choose to walk with him. In Genesis 6 verses 13 to 22, God unveils to Noah the catastrophic judgment about to befall humanity. The earth, filled with violence and wickedness, was set to be cleansed by a deluge. God's warning echoed through the air, "The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth." But alongside the pronouncement of impending doom came a divine mission, a plan of salvation. God commanded Noah to build an ark, a colossal vessel that would preserve the remnants of creation. This assignment was monumental, requiring unwavering faith, relentless dedication, and the ability to see beyond the present reality into God's divine plan for the future. The ark would not only safeguard Noah's family but also house representatives of every living creature, ensuring that life would endure beyond the floodwaters. The instructions for the ark's construction were precise, showcasing God's meticulous planning and divine foresight. In Genesis 6 verses 14 to 16, we find detailed specifications. The ark was to be made from cypress wood, chosen for its durability and resilience. Its dimensions were massive, 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high, approximately 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet tall. It would have 3 decks, a roof, and a door positioned on the side, all strategically designed to accommodate the diverse array of animal species and provisions necessary for survival. Every plank, every joint, and every layer of pitch was a testament to God's providence, serving as a physical representation of divine protection amid the storm to come. Genesis 6 verse 14 underscores the importance of sealing the ark with pitch, both inside and out. This tar-like substance was vital for preventing water infiltration, ensuring that the vessel would remain buoyant and intact amidst the torrents. It was a painstaking process, requiring Noah to cover every inch meticulously. The pitch symbolized the sealing power of God's protection, a safeguard against the destructive waters that would soon consume the earth. Each stroke of pitch was a declaration of Noah's trust in God's promise, a tangible expression of faith in the unseen. In Hebrews 11 verse 7, the writer emphasizes the profound faith that propelled Noah to action. By faith Noah, being warned by God concerning events as yet unseen, in reverent fear constructed an ark for the saving of his household. With each hammer strike, Noah proclaimed God's warning to a generation oblivious to the approaching disaster. He labored under the relentless sun, enduring years of construction while facing the mockery and disbelief of those around him. Yet he pressed on, knowing that the ark was more than a vessel. It was a sanctuary of divine grace amidst a world destined for destruction. Peter echoes this in 2 Peter 2 verse 5, referring to Noah as a preacher of righteousness. While constructing the ark, he not only built a physical refuge but also sounded a spiritual alarm. His life became a living sermon, a continual call to repentance and a plea for others to turn back to God before it was too late. But his warnings fell on deaf ears, and the world continued in its sin, oblivious to the storm gathering above. As the years passed, the ark began to take form. Cypress beams were shaped and fitted, compartments were crafted to house the animals, and provisions were stored in anticipation of the deluge. Every corner of the ark bore Noah's dedication, a testament to his steadfast obedience. The ark was more than wood and pitch. It was a monument to God's faithfulness, a tangible reminder that when judgment looms, there is always a way of escape for those who walk in righteousness. God's instructions extended beyond construction. They also included provisions for survival. Genesis 6 verse 21 details the gathering of food, a monumental task that required meticulous planning and foresight. Noah and his family had to gather sustenance not only for themselves but for every creature on board. Grains for the herbivores, meat for the carnivores, and enough water to last through the flood's duration. The ark became a microcosm of creation, a floating sanctuary preserving the future of life on earth. In Genesis 7 verses 15 to 16, the animals arrived, guided by divine instinct. They went into the ark with Noah, 2 and 2 of all flesh in which there was the breath of life. It was a supernatural procession, lions alongside lambs, eagles perched beside sparrows, each pair taking its place in the sanctuary that Noah had built. The scene was a living parable of God's sovereignty, demonstrating that even in the midst of judgment, He remains the orchestrator of all creation. As the rain began to fall and the ark's door was sealed, Noah's faith was no longer just words or actions. It was now a living reality. The world outside was consumed by chaos, but inside the ark there was peace, security, and the promise of a new beginning. The ark floated upon the waters, a vessel of hope amidst the deluge, a testament to the power of faith, obedience, and divine salvation. As they stepped onto solid ground once again, a profound sense of relief intertwined with the weight of everything they had witnessed. Every step Noah and his family took on the dry earth was a silent reminder of all they had lost but also of all that God had preserved. The devastation around them was unmistakable: uprooted trees, mountains reshaped by the force of the waters, a world utterly transformed by the fury of the flood. But amidst the chaos, there was a promise of rebirth. In Genesis 8 verse 20, we read that the very first act Noah performed after leaving the ark was to build an altar to the Lord. He took of every clean animal and every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. This act of worship was more than a gesture of gratitude. It was a recognition of God's sovereign power, a God who not only judged the earth but also chose to restore it. The aroma of the sacrifice rose to the heavens, and in Genesis 8 verse 21, the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of man, for the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth, nor will I ever again destroy every living thing as I have done." This divine declaration was not just a promise to Noah and his family but a covenant with all of humanity. It was the reaffirmation of God's redemptive purpose, even amidst judgment. From that moment forward, a new cycle was set in motion. God then establishes a visible sign of this eternal promise: the rainbow. In Genesis 9 verses 12 to 13, He proclaims, "This is the sign of the covenant which I am making between me and you and every living creature that is with you, for all successive generations. I set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a sign of a covenant between me and the earth." Every time the rain would return, the rainbow in the sky would remind Noah and all mankind that God would never again destroy the earth by a flood. This symbol of mercy and hope marked a new beginning. Yet, despite the renewal of the earth, the scars of the flood remained visible for generations. The waters that once rose to the mountaintops now rested in the depths, forming vast oceans. Animals that once roamed dense forests now wandered desolate lands, seeking new habitats. Nature was in a state of reconstruction, and Noah and his family were charged with fulfilling the divine command to be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. Genesis 9 verse 1. Stepping out of the ark was the first step toward a new beginning, but the memories of those days of confinement still echoed in their minds. The nights spent listening to the roaring waters, the muffled cries of those who perished, the constant rocking of the ark, all of it was still present in their thoughts. From that point on, every sunrise would serve as an exercise of faith, a reminder of God's faithfulness and the fragility of human existence. Well, we're almost at the end, but I noticed that you still haven't left your like. This is very important for YouTube to continue sharing our content with you, so leaving a like is free and will help you. Thank you, and let's get back to the video. The rainbow arched across the sky, a vibrant reminder of God's unbreakable promise. Each color seemed to echo a different facet of His divine nature: mercy, faithfulness, grace, and justice. As Noah gazed upward, he could feel the weight of what the rainbow symbolized. It was more than a natural phenomenon. It was a divine declaration, a visual representation of a covenant that extended far beyond Noah and his family. Genesis 9 verse 16 underscores this powerful truth. "And the rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth." This was not a fleeting promise but an eternal assurance that God's mercy would always prevail over judgment. Yet, amidst this divine reassurance, life on the newly cleansed earth was not without challenges. Noah and his family had to rebuild from the ground up, navigating a world that bore the scars of divine wrath. The landscape was unrecognizable, valleys carved out by the receding waters, mountains bearing the marks of the flood's immense pressure. Animals scattered across the terrain, some venturing into the wilderness, others staying close to Noah's family, as if sensing that these humans were the reason for their preservation. Noah's heart was full yet heavy. He had witnessed the full spectrum of God's character, from righteous judgment to unfathomable mercy. Every time he saw the rainbow, it was a call to remember not only God's faithfulness but also the price of human disobedience. The altar he built became a sacred landmark, a constant reminder to his descendants of the God who both judges and saves. The sacrifices offered upon it were acts of worship, but they were also acts of intercession, a way to keep God's presence close as they ventured into a new, uncertain world. As time passed, Noah's sons began to establish their own families, and the earth once again began to fill with life. The command to be fruitful and multiply, Genesis 9 verse 1, was not just a call to populate the earth, it was a call to restore what had been lost. Each child born carried with them the potential to either honor God or repeat the sins of the pre-flood world. It was a delicate balance, a reminder that while God had promised never to destroy the earth by flood again, humanity was still capable of corrupting itself. The echoes of the flood's devastation lingered in the air, a haunting reminder that sin carries consequences. Yet, amidst the rebirth of the earth, there was a palpable sense of divine purpose. The rainbow remained as a silent witness, a celestial promise arching across the sky, reminding Noah and his family that God's mercy would endure. But as days turned into months, the initial awe began to fade. The routine of daily life resumed, planting, building, tending to livestock. The earth was still barren in many places, the soil still bearing the marks of the deluge. Each seed planted was an act of faith, a declaration that life would not only continue but thrive. Noah, now the patriarch of a new civilization, carried the weight of this responsibility heavily upon his shoulders. Every day he visited the altar he had constructed, the stones darkened by countless offerings. It was there that he poured out his heart to God, praying for wisdom to lead his sons and their families in righteousness. But despite his devotion, the lingering memory of those who perished haunted him. The cries of those who mocked his warnings echoed in his mind, a solemn reminder of what disobedience to God's commands could bring. And then one day the unity that had held Noah's family together began to show signs of fracture. Ham, one of Noah's sons, grew restless. The world around them was ripe for exploration, vast and untamed. The promise of new lands and new beginnings called to him like a siren's song. But his restlessness would soon lead to an act that would alter the course of his lineage forever. It was during a moment of vulnerability that Ham entered his father's tent and saw Noah in a state of drunkenness. Instead of covering his father's shame, he chose to expose it, mocking the very man through whom God had spared him. When Noah awoke and learned of what had happened, a new shadow fell upon the family. Genesis 9 verses 24 to 25 records the pivotal moment. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers." This curse was not merely a reaction of anger but a prophetic declaration, one that would echo through generations. It was a stark reminder that even in a world washed clean by the flood, sin still lurked in the hearts of men. The curse upon Canaan reverberated through Noah's camp like a chilling wind, a sobering reminder that even the righteous can falter, and the consequences of sin ripple through generations. But as Noah pronounced the curse, he also spoke a blessing over Shem and Japheth, declaring in Genesis 9 verses 26 to 27, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May God extend Japheth's territory, may Japheth live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant." The destinies of these three brothers were now set, shaping the nations that would arise from their bloodlines. In the years that followed, the family of Noah spread across the earth, building cities, establishing cultures, and forging civilizations. Shem's descendants would carry the spiritual legacy, becoming the ancestral line through which the Messiah would eventually come. Japheth's descendants expanded into distant lands, becoming mighty nations. But the lineage of Ham, particularly through Canaan, would become a haunting reminder of the consequences of dishonoring one's own family. Yet even in the midst of such declarations, God's mercy endured. For centuries, the story of Noah would be told as a cautionary tale, a reminder of God's judgment but also of his enduring grace. The rainbow remained as a visible token of his faithfulness, a sign that though the world might be stained by sin, God's promise to preserve life stood firm. The storm had passed, but the lessons remained, etched into the very fabric of creation. And though Noah's days eventually came to an end, his legacy lived on, a testament to what one man's obedience could accomplish. And so, as the ark became a memory and the rainbow continued to paint the sky with divine colors, a new chapter in humanity's story was being written. A chapter filled with hope, with second chances, and with the relentless grace of a God who does not abandon his creation. Today, as we look to the skies and see the rainbow after a storm, let it be a reminder that God's promises never fail. No matter how dark the storm may seem, the light of his mercy will always break through. If you've ever felt the weight of past mistakes, if you've ever wondered if God still remembers you, look to the heavens. The rainbow is still there, a sign that the God who preserved Noah is still preserving you. His mercy endures, his love remains, and his promises are as sure as the rising of the sun. Stay with us as we continue to uncover the profound stories of the Bible, stories of redemption, restoration, and the unending grace of a God who never gives up on us. Subscribe to the channel, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, and remember, the God who saved Noah is the same God who holds you in the palm of his hand. See you in the next video. God bless you.